Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Hello friends, now I move over to the next section that is related to the comprehension passage. I will first read out the passage for you and then we will answer the respective objective questions based on that passage. The passage is: not all agricultural societies become civilizations, but no civilization can become one without passing through the stage of agriculture. In other words, if you read this sentence carefully, it means that each civilization in this world has to transit through the stage of agriculture. But it does not mean that all agricultural societies, that is, who are indulging in farming and agriculture, will lead to a situation where we are talking of correlation with civilizations. So the second part is more important, that every civilization has gone through the stage of agriculture. This is because at some stage in the development of agriculture, as productivity improves, not all people would need to be engaged in producing or procuring food, because when the action of taking place, invariably we don't require everyone to be engaged in this activity. A significant people would be freed up. That means a lot of people are available to pursue other essential activities such as building walls, monuments for new cities, making new tools, weapons and jewelry, organizing long distance trade, creating new artistic masterpieces. These are the varied activities that one has to do. And apart from that, you are creating new inventions, keeping accounts. So there are a whole lot of miscellaneous activities that are required. Perhaps constructing new public infrastructure such as irrigation canals that further improve the productivity of agriculture, thus realizing even more people to do new things. That means we can keep creating and doing new things because the manpower required for agriculture is reduced. This can happen only if a society that has transitioned, means it has moved from one situation to another situation, to high productivity. Agriculture has also at some stage in its evolution found a way to channel the bonanza of free time into other work fruitfully. Fruitfully means gainfully. In the ancient world, this often involved creating new ideologies and new hierarchies or power structures to coerce, means to force, to make them do that activity, or otherwise convince large groups of people to devote their time to the new task for very little reward. So, having read the passage, now let us read the question. The first question is, which one of the following statements is true? He wants to know which statement is true. Agriculture has always been a part of all civilizations. Note sentence 1. He says here that no civilization can take place without passing through a stage of agriculture. This closely matches with option A, and that means this is the best option and correct option. Nevertheless, let us read the other options. The next option is, not all civilizations have undergone the process of agriculture. As a statement, not all civilizations have undergone the processes of agriculture. C. Agriculture gave birth to new civilizations. So agriculture has given birth, but that is not the correct sense which is conveyed by this part. And that means option A is indeed the better choice. Communities discontinued agriculture to become civilizations. This is clearly not mentioned in the passage. So if you see this, option A is the right answer. Agriculture has always been part of the civilizations. The reverse is not true. All civilizations have got agriculture is incorrect, but agriculture has invariably an intrinsic part of the civilization. So that means option A is the correct choice. Okay, now let us move on to the next question of the first paragraph. The question is, a significant number of people were sent to carry out other work. Other work means all the miscellaneous work that is mentioned from here to here. They were other work from agriculture. Why? because there were insufficient agricultural products. The word insufficient is incorrect. The people were sent to pursue other activities because they had sufficiency of agriculture produce. So that means this is clearly wrong. And then we see B. People were needed to build other monuments, weapons, jewelry, etc. Obviously, when the people are in sufficient number and the productivity is sustainable and it is adequate, then you can send people to pursue other walks of life. So this sense is conveyed by option B. If we see C, there were sufficient agriculture products. We are not talking of agriculture products. We are talking of agricultural produce. That means the products is not the answer. There were sufficient products, though it appears right, but the better answer is option C, option B. This enabled the development of civilization. So this was not the case from agriculture because this enabled the development. They were not contemplating a development civilization. It was the need of the hour. That means people can pursue other interests in which they are interested in. So option B and option C are quite close, but option B fits better and option C is incorrect because he is talking of products while we should be talking of agricultural produce. Let us go to the third question of this passage. The question is, what kind of agriculture-based societies would emerge as civilizations? A. Societies which achieved high productivity in agriculture had the opportunity to find time for other work because they had achieved high degree of productivity. So that means the people could be freed to pursue other activities. That means this is very right. Societies which depended on agriculture completely moved on to other fruitful work so as to move to many places. This sense is not conveyed in the passage, so it is clearly wrong. Societies which transitioned from one stage of agriculture to another. This is also not mentioned in the passage. That means option C is also wrong. And if you see this option D, societies which could not do agriculture for lack of resources move to other things. Certainly this has not been mentioned in the passage. If you see this question, option A, this is mentioned here in the second sentence of the passage. If you read the second sentence of the passage, this is because some stage in development agriculture productivity improves, not all people would need to be engaged. This is the basic sense. So he is saying here, which achieved agriculture had the opportunity to find time for other work. So other work sense is conveyed by this sentence. That means option, the question is covered by the second sentence of the passage. Let us now move on to the next question. Let us now read the fourth question of this passage. The question is, people as groups were convinced to do new work through reward, force and community persuasions. B. Ideologies, hierarchies and power structures. C. Excessive agricultural products. And fourth is very high rewards. If you see this, why did they move to this? The answer is very clear. It is ideologies, hierarchies and power structures. Where is it mentioned? Read the last sentence. Involved in creating new ideologies, new hierarchies and power structure. So that means this question is answered from this place. And that means option B is the correct choice. Let us now move to the last question. The last question is, which of the word in the passage means changeover? Changeover. The first word is transitioned, channel, course and hierarchies. Changeover means when you are changing from one to another, and that means transitioned. But let us now fit this word and see where it exactly fits in. If we read passage para 2, society, if that has transitioned, transition means has that changed over to high productivity. So that means the word transitioned is right, it means changed over. That means option A is the correct answer. With this, I have finished the first passage of the serious examination paper held in this year. Now I will go through the second passage in the CDS examination, followed by the respective questions. First, we will briefly read through the passage. When we pick up a newspaper, a book, or an article, we come to our task with certain preconceptions and predispositions. What does it mean? That means we come with preconceived ideas. We already have a thought as to what we are likely to read, and that means we are starting with preconceptions, preconceived ideas and predispositions, an inclination to view certain things in a certain manner. We expect to find a specific piece of information or be presented with an argument or an analysis of something, say the likelihood of recession in the next 6 months or the reasons why children can't read. That means we expect to be provided an argument or thought process which confirms such things. We probably know little about the book. That means we know something about that book, and we have already got some idea or article we are reading even before we start. There was, after all, some reason why we chose to read one piece of writing rather than another. Next paragraph, our expectations and predispositions, that means our preconceived ideas, may however blind us to what the article and the author is actually saying. Blind us means that we do not pay much cognizance to what the writer is saying because of our preconceived ideas. If, for example, we are used to disagreeing with the author, that means we do not agree to what he is saying, we may see only what we expect to see and not what is actually there. So because we have got a tendency to disagree, say with a particular author, we will not understand what actually he is trying to say. Day after day, in a routine pattern of life, we expose ourselves to the same newspaper, the same magazine, even books by authors. That means we keep reading the same things over and over again. Every day we read the newspaper belonging to the same publishing house. We read the same magazine by the same publishing house, and even books written by the same authors. We don't spread our reading habits to other authors with the same perspectives. So we continue having the same perspective. In order to reflect on our reading, in order to think over, do some introspection of our reading habits and improve our skills, we need to break out of this routine. Break out of this routine means we need to change this routine. That reading the same magazine, the same newspaper and the same author over and over again. Step back and look at what we are doing when we read. So we should be able to think it over. Is this indeed the correct way if you want to widen our horizon? This is the essence of the passage. Now let us go through the question. The first question is, according to the author, which one of the following statements is not true? Please wrote the word not true. If you see the first sentence, first option, readers' preconceptions influence their reading. So preconceptions, where is this mentioned? If you see this is mentioned in the first sentence, preconceptions. That means this part is true. Okay, the next part. Readers have expectations when they read an article or a book. They are already talking about expectations. Where is it mentioned? We expect a certain specific piece of information. So this is similar to expectation. That means this is also true. Third, readers look for specific information in any of the readings. They look for specific information. Specific information means what their views are, what their preconceived ideas are. So this is also written there. So this is also true. Readers assume that everything they will read will have new information. This is not mentioned. In fact, they always read something for which they have got an iota of information earlier. That means this answer is not true because it is not mentioned in the passage. So the correct answer is D. Let us now read the next question. The question is, our expectations and predispositions may however blind us. That means we will tend to start ignoring things because of our preconceived ideas and pre-expectations. We may not get the actual ideas of the author. We will get the actual ideas of the author Here it says may not get and here it says will get. So clearly one of them is applicable. And if you see this, we may disagree with the author. And fourth is we will agree with all the ideas of the author. Disagree with the author, and here preconceived we will agree with all the ideas of the author. So it is very clear. However, they make us blind because we will not get the actual ideas of the author. Is it mentioned? It is mentioned, if you see this in para 2, our expectations and prediction may however blind us to what we are saying. So this sense is covered by option A, and that means option A is indeed the correct answer. Let us now go through the next question. The question is, one of the ways to improve our reading habits is to break the routine by changing the time of reading. The text does not mention anything about time, so that means option A is clearly wrong. Change the types of topics we read. It's not a question of topics, variety. It is reading the same magazine, the same newspaper, the same author. That is creating a problem. So that means option B is also not correct. Break the routine of reading the same newspaper, same magazine, the same author. That means this answer is appropriate. Stop reading for some time and then restart reading. The text does not mention that you stop reading. That means this option is clearly wrong. The correct option is option C, which is covered in the passage. If you see this, you see the same newspaper, the same thing. And then he says that we need to ponder over it, we need to think it over, whether indeed this is the correct course of action. Which quality does the author here advocate? Advocate means which he supports, which he wants you to adopt to be a good reader. Being objective to the ideas of the author. Objective is have an unbiased view of whatever you are reading, having preconceptions and predispositions. Obviously, this is not advocated by the reader, because he says very clearly that we need time to reflect. So that means we need to change our habits. So B is clearly wrong. Having continuous routines. He does not say that we should lead a monotonous routine, doing the same things or reading the same things, having the same line of thought over and over again. That means C is also wrong. Disagreeing with the author. There is no question of disagreeing with the author. The problem starts when we fail to think differently and start with misconceptions and predispositions. So that means option A is the right answer. Which word in the passage means viewpoints? Viewpoints means your views. Here it is preconceptions. Then we say predispositions. Both these words basically convey the same ideas. You are starting with the inclination, that is predisposition, and when you are talking of ideas which are already latent in your mind, then it is preconceptions. And pattern does not fit. The correct word is perspectives, which conveys the same view, same meaning as viewpoints. Where is this word? We need to read this word. Here in the second last sentence, we can see the word perspectives. The author with the same perspective. That means with the same viewpoint. Perspectives, viewpoints. So that means clearly option D is the correct answer. Well, gentlemen, with this I conclude the reading comprehension passage. I will soon return with another set of questions. Thank you.